This chair thingy looks like it's an IKEA piece. Has a decent little wood frame. You know, that light wood you see at IKEA. And it had two white cushions. Now mind you, these cushions, here, I don't know if you could really see it. These cushions, okay, well that light doesn't work, great. These cushions were white. And I said, you know what, let's get them a little whiter. So I put them on the chairs, I put the fan on them, I doused them with soap and water. I don't know how much soap has been thrown on this floor, but it's getting cleaner in my basement, okay? I painted that thing white, made it nice. Half my tools are in my car, they would be right there. Anyway, back to this. I didn't know that if you clean these fucking things, these white cushions, you would end up with something like this. Now I cleaned them about 4 or 5 times and they were getting this, here I'll show you the water that comes out of them. I don't know how long they were left outside. I don't have much water left because I just dumped it all. But just a sample, I'll put a little right here. That's the water that comes out of that. Which isn't surprising because look at the fucking, how dirty them are. That's the water. Here's the water. And mind you, they've been soaked. I got the hose right here. Soaked. This whole floor was scrubbed. They were scrubbed. You know, just clean in these damp, dark basements. When I started in this basement, people said, dude, don't even go down there. There's spiders, blah, blah, blah. But I've turned it into something. We'll just say it's something right now. Okay, so, a little cleaner. All this dirt just comes out of it. It's ridiculous. So I'm just going to have to bleach them, I guess. This is my new studio. Everything except that chair is green screen, just to make it look like I'm a man's man or something like that. Because online you have to put up a front. Dude, rule number 1 about anything, do not be yourself. Or at least it seems like that's what most people do. But, I have a friend, all right? I had a few friends, and they got, the point of this video is they got prescribed Adderall. One of these friends would do Adderall starting in, let's say, 8th grade. My friend's older brother. By the time we were sophomores in high school, he would be like this. You know, he dressed like a hippie stoner. And this was kind of a white neighborhood where people dressed like that. It wasn't like everybody was wearing like, you know, creased jeans and like polos. And there were some people like that, but it was more like a preppier thing. There was no ghetto people in this particular school. It's called Stag. It's on 111th Street, west of Chicago, southwest. And when we moved out there, I didn't know what to do. Like, I had never been around this kind of people. It's a whole different culture than the city. And I couldn't just throw all my clothes away, so I was like the one kid wearing jerseys still, like Jordan jerseys and like White Sox jerseys and button-up White Sox. Anyway, so these people lived by me, and they always tripped me out. Like, they dressed so crazy, and they had like these chains in their pockets and big giant pants and la la la, and they were stoners, but I like to smoke weed, so we had that in common. But this kid before, after, during smoking weed would talk like this. What's up, bro? I'd be like, what's up, bro? He'd be like, shit, wanna smoke some buds? I'd be like, yeah. And then I asked this one dude we knew, mutual friend, what's the deal with him, man? He's like, he's on Adderall all the time. I'm like, he doesn't act like he's on Adderall. He acts like he needs Adderall. He's like, dude, he's been doing it for a while. And I don't know if he did it before I met him in the second half of 8th grade. I moved out there. But this motherfucking guy was like slumped from the shit. And then he would smoke weed, and a conversation would take forever to happen. This guy actually passed away now. I think he passed away when he was like 29 or 30 years old. And I guess when he was like 27, I hadn't known him for like 5 years. He started doing heroin, and it took his life. And another one down the drain, man. But and I do believe they were adopted, both these kids. They looked very different than the dad. There was no mother to be found. And they lived in these row house projects, like white people projects. But I started seeing more people as I grew up on Adderall, and I started noticing that these people weren't talkative. I mean, they might be if they were really high off the shit, but these people weren't functioning at the same level as everybody else. And they were so below people who were just functioning normal without these brain altering, chemical imbalance inducing pills. I mean, these things create an imbalance. And I think it's like meth, man. I think they fry out. Like, you're all talkative when you're on it, but say the pill fades and the high wears off or the drug wears off, and you're a day and a half, 2 days from having any Adderall. Say you have a script and you do it all month, and then the third day of not having it, it's like the worst coffee withdrawal. I was explained it too. But you're manic. You're also kind of ornery, physically ornery, mentally manic, but slow at the same time. And I see a lot of these comics, and I think they need to do the Adderall so that they could stay on their toes, stay sharp. And yeah, that might have worked, but days go by fast in my life. It feels like I'll wake up and the day will be gone before I know it. Especially when the sun starts going down at 4 p.m. Months fly by, weeks of your life, they just go by. I'm almost in my mid 30s. I'm not there yet. But it seems like just yesterday I was 24. And if you don't start building when you're like 24, 25, 26, by the time you're my age, you don't have shit and you're still on ground level. Hopefully you haven't dug a deep hole. Hopefully you're not in prison or dead. Those are the deepest holes. You can't get out of those until you're let out or never, because you're dead. And people have dug holes with their driver's licenses because we've got so many cops that every little thing you do just gets you fucked. And people aren't making money. They get these high tickets. Now this ticket says I'm suspended. I remember, for me, I got a speeding ticket, right? I was driving a cab. And I had this crazy Mexican mafia guy, or at least he was acting like he was like Mexican mafia, pulls out a wad of dough. Just starts throwing hundreds up in my front of my seat. Faster, David! Then he starts telling me I'm going to be his bodyguard. All this crazy shit, right? Drunk shit. It was just drunk shit. I took him from Blue Island to Melrose Park to another little bar or strip club or something. Whatever was open. It was getting late. I used to work till like 6 in the morning. From like 6 to 6, I'd work 12 hours. I'd be in that cab. It was crazy. So, I got pulled over. And of course, I tell the police, look, man, I was trying to get this guy where he was drunk, he's a little erratic. He gave me $400. I didn't tell the police that, but he did give me $400 bills. And then we went to a 4:30 bar, and I drank with him for about a half an hour, but I wasn't really drinking. I was more like putting on the fact that I was drinking, like just trying to be good entertainment for this guy. He did just give me $400 to drive him here, and I can't just leave him. My dispatcher's calling me like, why are you still with him? I'm like, look, he might want to ride home. He's a good customer, I think. Let's treat him good. Didn't tell him about my tip. But he had a guy with him that was kind of like a bodyguard, who was just like sitting in the front seat while the other guy was in the back. It was a Dodge Caravan. And I'm just like, what's up with your guy? He's like, you just fucked up, man, just go. And he wouldn't talk, but he would, from time to time, express the fact that he was frustrated. And they had a guitar with him. So when we got to the next bar, he's swinging the guitar, singing his favorite Mexican songs. And, but anyway, so I go to court for the speeding ticket. They say it's $175 because you were going 16 over, because the cop went from 20 over to 16, so I wouldn't get the 18 over ticket. But it was still an arm and a leg. Also would have been like $325 just to pay it. Or you could pay $350 and it not be on your driver's license, but you got to get supervision. So if you get it again, then like it goes down as a conviction. But I've known people who have paid $350 and are still on supervision for 6 months, get another one, and then they tell them pay $350 again, and if you don't get in trouble for 6 months, then both go away. People can get supervision on top of supervision. It's money. So I went ahead and said, I'll pay the $350 because you don't have to pay it right then. They give you time. They give you time to pay it, right? So they give you time. You walk out of court, you feel good, but you don't think about the money. But a lot of people take that deal and then they don't pay it, and then it goes down as a conviction. Not only do you have points on your license, but now you got that on your thing. And then you have to go pay the $175 for the real actual ticket. You don't pay that, your license is suspended. You driving a suspended license, your license may become revoked. Now you driving a revoked, they're going to try to send you to the county for like a month. I've seen people in county jail on suspended driver's license. And then they lose their job, they don't have a license to come out of jail to. But back to the Adderall. Some comedians, not going to name names, some people, and I will name one name because he's so big, everybody knows this guy, Steven Crowder. There's speculation that he does it. And I am noticing that they are a little bit slower. And another thing they can't do is they can focus, but they're trying to be entertaining. Just like when we had Chris Farley, he said he wanted to do heroin and cocaine to keep him on, so he was always on, always entertaining. And you have to do more and more Adderall to maintain that level. And when you're making big bucks like them, they can afford it. They can find any script they want, any doctor they want, have their pills. And you start to see this thing with people who are on it, then off it, then back on it. Every time they get back on it, it's harder to quit. And they only quit because they run out. And the dude, there's another dude who's big enough that I could mention. I'm not trying to pick on the little people. I'm trying to support small YouTube channels, if anything. But our friend Owen Benjamin, he's called them brain steroids. Brain steroids. So it levels him out. He acts normal when I first started fucking with him. Then it must have been Adderall. It's basically legalized meth. They start talking crazier and looking crazier, and the eyes look crazier. And it gives them a paranoia, mind you, that people are trying to fuck with them. They get paranoid, like meth. And it reaches that point where if they stop doing it, which they all have to eventually, not all, but even if they continue to do it, and the dose isn't, you can only get to so high a dose, right? And then, like the kid Sean I was just talking about, he gets to a dose and they level out, and then they kind of sink into being slow. And then you're just like, damn, this person ain't even the same person from them drugs. And then you see people like Owen Benjamin, they're not funny anymore. They just look like a crazy guy. And whether they have their brain steroids or not, you're not going to be able to maintain that amount of up feeling, that upper. It's just going to be able to get you like normal now so that you can function normal. But that pisses them off because they like the feeling of being above everybody, faster than everybody, because they think they're faster just because of the drug. But other people look at them like, dude, calm down. You're not smarter than anybody. You're not faster. You're just rambling. And nobody wants to hear that. We want to have coherent conversations. And in his case, there's a lot of contradiction in what they say because they say so much shit off the meth or off the fucking Adderall that they talk so much that they contradict themselves constantly. They become the biggest hypocrites. And the other side of it is they become a melt. They're like slower. They got to do the drug just to be normal. They're not happy. They lash out very quickly. Very quickly they will lash out, start screaming at people. I can go on and on and on with these symptoms, but it's basically the melt is the worst. Because they feel it. They know it. They know they're being slow. And they know people have told them, hey, dude, you sound slow. And they think the answer to that is more of the drug. But you plateaued. And now you're on a slow decline. You were like, shh. Da-da-da-da-da. You could think a million things. You could work harder. You know, people say they work harder. I don't see a lot of Adderall people actually working on the drug. It's more like meth, where they might work for 5 hours straight, but they haven't done anything. They haven't. And if they did do work, they painted the whole house white, like even the brown doors and the trim. I knew a person on Adderall. They painted their whole apartment. We were renting out this girl, this room. She painted, like there was like a 150-year-old wooden thing that was, in the wall, like a china cabinet from back in the day. I got one in my house. She painted that white. Everything got painted white. It was walking in her house, you're like, whoa, what the fuck? I'm surprised she didn't paint the floors white, but they were already kind of like a lighter beige. But handles of doors, everything. It was the most bizarre thing one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. Her name was Erica, and we were like, Erica, you can't paint the whole fucking house white. What were you thinking? Then she's like, oh, I don't know. She starts talking crazy. She's like, I think I'm going to take this class that teaches me how to strip, Dave. You think that's a good idea? I could probably make a lot of money. Then I don't have to worry about rent. I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck? Like last month you were normal. What happened? She lived on the third floor. I lived on the first floor, so I didn't have to hear her walking around. And there was the person on the second floor died twice. 2 people. It was a very crazy place. Anyway, I'm seeing that now in a lot of people. They're very paranoid. They're unhappy. They snap. They do not like opposition to any of their thoughts because they think to themselves that everything they say is like genius. So when you question a methed out genius or a methed out or an Adderal dependent or an Adderal addict, you question their genius, they flip out because how dare you? Do you know how much Adderall they think I had to take just to come up with that? And you're just going to come in here and shit on it? So it's real ugly, and it's criminal to put children on it. These children, yeah, they'll calm down because they'll turn into melts. And look at it from this point of view. If you're on top and you want your family and your dependents to be the smartest, the brightest, the Yale graduate, the Harvard grad, go into some kind of prestigious field, neuroscience or blah, blah, blah. Some people might actually put their kids on it for that. But others, I think James Holmes was on it, James Holmes. But others would think to themselves, yeah, I want the rest of the population to be melts. That way our family and our genes survive because we aren't melts. Everybody else is addicted to this drug that fries your brain within 3 to 8, 5 years or whatever. And we make a killing off selling the shit because they're addicted, like meth. So it's a very, very evil drug, and to give it to children is beyond criminal. Why in the world, what kind of world do we live in where we're giving happy children that just want to play and they're excitable and they're drugs? I'll tell you what drugs did to me. I used to be able to play basketball and have fun. I used to catch footballs, touchdowns. That was your euphoric rush. Your euphoric rush was your first time kissing a girl, or the first girl you had an actual crush on, or euphoria from the beautiful weather, going out into the woods, because we lived in the city, so the woods for me were like just amazing. I loved it. Going anywhere outside of Chicago, beautiful. Then when you start smoking pot, and don't let anybody tell you, I understand people love their pot, and the people I know that do pot, they become non-ambitious, let's say. If something doesn't fall into their lap and it's not easy for them to accomplish, like they can't just go somewhere, smoke pot, go somewhere, sit and talk and bullshit, that's the perfect job for a pothead. Eat good. They can manage a life. They can maintain their rent. A lot of people have $800 rents around here, or $7. They smoke bud and they maintain them. Because weed's not going to kill your life. But this is the worst part about weed. When I started smoking weed, after you get into the rhythm of smoking weed, if somebody comes up to you and starts talking to you and they don't have weed, you say to yourself, do you have weed? And if the answer is no, are you going to help me get weed? And if the answer is no again, you're in my way. People rob people and kill people for weed around here. Not usually over dime bags, but for pounds. For QPs, quarter pounds, halves. A couple ounces, 2 ounces to get I know somebody who died over 2 ounces of weed. People will kill each other for nothing. So 2 ounces of good weed when they're addicted to weed and they need to smoke, and it just puts them at ease. Their body's got their drug, and they're at ease, and they're like, oh, much better. They can't work without it. All their body pain goes away. But it makes you not ambitious. But the non-ambitious part isn't the worst. The worst part is it gets you on the track of doing drugs, and that will possibly become a spiral for you unless you have a good support system and blah, blah, blah. And you're not around other drugs, like hard drugs, because you will do them. You already smoke weed. But the worst part for me, like I said, was I couldn't have fun naturally. I needed the drug. I needed the drug. I needed the weed. I needed to have bud just to be happy. Otherwise, I wasn't trying to talk, wasn't trying to kick it. I definitely wasn't trying to hang out. And that's how other people feel too that I've talked to about weed. Now they have super weed. Now they have weed like we've never seen before with the THC count, astronomical amount of THC per fucking gram. It's like quadrupled. You don't think that shit's super? That's green crack. But the Adderall is definitely a. Why do you think they're allowing weed to become legal? Because they know it keeps people from being ambitious. They want us out of the game. Everybody out of the game. One day Mexicans will be targeted soon. Mexicans are getting a little bit too affluent. They're starting to buy property. They save their money. They're frugal. They don't need a lot of money to survive. You don't think that one day when Mexicans are, upper middle class for the most part, they're going to be targeted for subversion? Right now they're being used like pawns on a chessboard against the United States of America and the workforce. I go to the hood to work, right? Nothing but hood, bandit houses, burned down houses, collapsed roofs, Harvey, Markham, Dalton, South Chicago. Then there's a factory. And you see the people coming out on their shift, like the end of the shift. And you look in the windows of the car, Mexican woman, Mexican man, woman, Mexican man, woman. I mean, these factories employ tons of Mexican women for their labor force. And that's in the middle of a black neighborhood, and there's no black people working there. And they're saving their money. They're doing the right thing. And they don't have a drug problem because they came here when they were 30, some of them. The younger ones sometimes fall into gangbanging. But I've seen gangbanging in Chicago slightly dip down with all the high prison sentences, with a lot of people going to jail. You see a lot more Mexicans who aren't into gangbanging. Where it used to be, if you lived in that neighborhood, that was your gang, wherever you grew up. That's it, that's all. Now it's not like that. It's way different. People aren't as eager to get themselves into that because they have a mother and father they don't want to disappoint. Mexicans have a mother, father, and a job. They don't want to just go sit around and smoke bud and talk shit with other gang members and get in a car and put on some song that gets them pumped up and go shoot some guy. A lot of them aren't down for that like they used to be. But I digress. But I just wanted to talk about Adderall. It's a crime to give it to children. It's it's criminal to be giving these people these high doses of this psychoactive, chemically altering drug that makes kids slow. But everybody, God bless.